just down the road from here in Cardiff, and he's up against Paul Hanlon from Birmingham tonight. Let's join Ian.
So away we go here. Joe Calzaghe, top-class amateur, three-time ABA champion in the plain black shorts, and Paul Hanlon with the stripe down his shorts. Calzaghe, big things expected of him. He's a Mickey Duff fighter. How good is he going to be in the pro ranks here at the super middleweight division? Hanlon, who's managed by famous fight character Norman Nobbs. He's been a pro since 1986, but he's been a bit of a win some, lose some kind of fighter, and he's lost more than he's won. Calzaghe, you'll notice, leading with the right. He's a southpaw. And success there for Hanlon with the right hand.
Break. Step back.
Always a big moment, Glenn McCrory, for a fighter making his professional debut.
He looks quite good. He's got a nice style, nice and tall and rangy. He looks very good. It's the right sort of fight that he needs. I'd like to see him use his jab a little bit more. But obviously he wants to get this sort of opponent out of the way as quick as he can.
Not a bad right uppercut there from Hanlon as they worked inside. Hanlon, who's from Birmingham. He's been improving gradually. He's won 4 out of 7 in the last year, Hanlon, so he's going the right way generally, but he didn't really ought to be beating somebody like Calzaghe, though he might give him quite a tough test on his debut.
Well, he could, because obviously he's had a lot of fights, so he's got a lot more experience. This guy's having his very first fight, so it's still a tough test.
Well, Ivor Bassett there, the referee, jumped in, and I thought he was going to administer some kind of count for a moment there as they both landed, and I think really Hanlon came off the worst in the exchange, and now the southpaw Calzaghe is moving into top gear. And down he goes. He needs to take a shot to Hanlon. Count goes on. He's waiting to clear his head. That's good experience, but he's in trouble, Glenn.
He's in desperate trouble. I noticed at the end of that exchange there, he had his head, he was looking at the canvas. You've got no chance of getting out of the way of the shots if you're not going to see them. So Calzaghe letting all the shots go. Good punch there.
He's growing in confidence, starting to wind up his shots. And you get the feeling this might only be a matter of time.
Well, Calzaghe knows he can hurt him, so now he's thrown everything.
Oh, he's got him again with the right hand. It's the second count of the round. He's being told to get to a neutral corner, and how much more of this will Hanlon be able to take? He's up at 8, he's brave, and the referee's taking a look at him and saying no more. It's a first round win on his debut for Joe Calzaghe from Newbridge in Gwent. The Welsh fans like this. They like the look of this 21-year-old who was an ABA champion at welterweight, light middleweight and middleweight, and well, he did nothing wrong there, Glenn.
He did everything right. Very, very fast. He knew when he got his man going, he threw everything. And that was very good. I think the referee made the right decision to call it up when it was, because there was no way Hanlon was going to do anything. He'd been hurt, and the referee did the right thing.
Terry Lawless is very happy with him, and Joe Calzaghe is off the mark from the Duff Lawless camp, and they might have a bit of a star in the making there in Joe Calzaghe, though of course there'll be bigger tests lying ahead. First round win for him here over Paul Hanlon of Birmingham, whose record drops to 7 wins and now 17 defeats.
Thanks to Ian and Glenn McCrory, and of course Ian and Glenn will keep their eye on the best of the ringside action. But let's go back inside the dressing room area, shall we? Because this is the man that
he's only had 1 defeat
is involved in the main event. Lennox Lewis, the world heavyweight champion, believed to be picking up a £3.5 million paycheck for this one. But believe me, if Lennox Lewis does win this one tonight, that is only the start of the really big earnings for the man who is the WBC world heavyweight champion. He hasn't lost yet. And who's in the future? Maybe among the men in the immediate future would be Tommy Morrison if Lewis is successful tonight. We could maybe get more on that by going down to Gary Norman. He's talking to a man who may know.
Thanks, Paul. I've got Bob Aaron with me, respected worldwide fight promoter. First of all, let's talk about tonight's fight. How do you see that going, Bob?
Well, I think Lewis should win, and he should win quite quickly. I look for a knockout in about 2 rounds. He's far too fast for Bruno. He hits too hard. I think Frank is going to go out early. I like Frank. He's a terrific guy, but he's no match for Lennox Lewis.
Tommy Morrison is due next for Lennox Lewis. Is that true? Is it on paper?
Yes, and that's why I'm here. We're going to announce the fight tomorrow, and it's going to be in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand, the new hotel in Las Vegas, on March the 5th.
He's got a fight or two before that, hasn't he? Who's next for Tommy Morrison?
Tommy fights Michael Bent, pretty good fighter. But again, I think that Tommy figures to beat Bent just the way Lewis should beat Bruno tonight.
How would you see Lewis Morrison? That's a very interesting fight, a very explosive puncher, both sides of the fence.
I think that we have analyzed Lewis as being open for a left hook, and that's Tommy's best punch.
Absolutely.
I really think that Tommy has an excellent chance against Lennox Lewis. Lewis is a very, very good fighter, but I think that Tommy would have a much better chance with Lennox Lewis than, say, with a Riddick Bowe.
One other super fight that the world want to see, all the boxing fans want to see, is Nunn against Tony. You could make that happen. Will it happen?
I think that'll happen. James Toney is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He fights the postman Tony Thornton next on the same card that Morrison's fighting Bent on October 29th. And then he has to do his mandatory fight in January, and then he'll probably fight Michael Nunn.
Bob, thanks for keeping us posted. Enjoy the fight. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks once more to Gary. That's all into the future. Tonight is about 2 men, Lennox Lewis and Frank Bruno, and it's a piece of sporting history here in Britain. The streets of Cardiff are thronged with people making their way now to the Arms Park, just over an hour away from the big event. The weather is still picture perfect, I'm glad to say. And when these people get inside the stadium, they're going to see a spectacle that they won't forget. From every vantage point in this stadium, you've got a perfect view. They've thought about everything here. We'll continue the build-up in just a moment.
You're watching Sky Sports.